What's up, everyone? Hope everybody out there is off to a great day. Here we are, day 3 of the NASCAR Trial, taking place right down the road in Charlotte, North Carolina. As we put in yesterday's episode, Denny Hamlin concluding his time on the witness stand. Pretty cool move by the team's attorneys right there to put Denny up first, because Denny was not going to be able to be in the courtroom through everybody else's testimony, but by putting him up there, now he can sit through the rest of the trial. Also, I think a cool move because Denny got emotional. Had some tears out there talking about his family and everything else with the past. Also bringing up the amounts of millions of dollars that he has to have in loans to keep his part of the race team going. So I think a good strategy to build some compassion with that jury right out of the gate. But next up was the NASCAR Executive VP right here. This is Scott Prime, who is Chief Strategy Officer for NASCAR. And apparently, pretty uncomfortable setting there in the courtroom yesterday as some unsealed texts and emails were put out as discovery for the first time in the courtroom. And there's some here that could suggest that Prime was feeling a little compassion for the race teams, and there's also some that may say something a little bit different. But the team's attorney, Kessler, started out with an email from Prime where he had noted to other NASCAR executives that team owners have a point in their negotiations. And what he was saying with this was that the F1 series provides 50% of their overall revenue to the team owners, where NASCAR Cup Series, the team owners only get 20 to 25%. So obviously, side with them a little bit right here on all this. But then he also, in another email, went on to say that NASCAR has all the leverage, and the teams will basically sign any agreement that's placed in front of them. Now, there's more to this. I'm going to get to that here in a moment, which will make some of this make sense right here. There's also these text messages. There was a text thread from May 21st of 2024 that was brought up yesterday in court. Now, I'm going to warn you with this right here. I'm doing a voiceover for this. Again, this was text, but we're doing a voiceover just because we are. And there's some language in here. So if you don't like hearing that, you might want to skip this part. But let them F-bombs begin.
Lisa called, spoke to Gary, Mike, and Jim. They all thought meeting was productive, and that we just need to keep trying to move the needle. Teams won't get everything they want, and hopefully we can just meet in the middle. I just listened as she didn't want to hear any opinions, but I of course didn't hold back. I just asked for someone in the MTG to point out how any of our positions are going to grow the sport and position us for a big rights renewal in the future.
Productive? Insanity. Look at the Amanda chart. 0 wins for the teams. The draft must reflect a middle position of we are dead in the water. They will sign them. But we are fucked moving forward. I feel better now. Thanks for that.
The approach of, here is a bit more money, fuck off everywhere else, is a bold strategy.
And one that Lisa said both Mike and Gary thought is getting us close. Close to a comfortable 1996, fuck the teams, dictatorship, motorsport, redneck, southern tiny sport.
Now, Prime went on to explain in the courtroom that this was following a meeting with NASCAR team owners where he was frustrated, and he regretted using that type of language in these email threads. And he also said that during that meeting that the NASCAR board of directors did do stuff to help the race teams. And when asked on this, he said it was giving them significant protections. Now, Kessler went on to say with this that, yeah, you gave them 2 or 3 of the things they were asking for, but that was out of the thousands of lines of things that were in these requests. And also pointed out that they didn't get permanent charters, they didn't get more money, and they didn't get a seat at the table when it comes to NASCAR decision-making, something that they want, some kind of veto power when it comes to decisions that's going to impact them. And Kessler also questioned a 5-year-old email from Prime where he expressed concern that a breakaway series, an alternate to NASCAR, could lure in other drivers and team owners. And he went on to note the CART IRL division scenario that took place right there and expressing worried about something like this happening. So NASCAR attorney Kessler at this point brought up that this was about the time that NASCAR executives began to start discussing more exclusive track agreements, more rights to these tracks and everything else, especially with Speedway Motorsports. And part of this was because they did not want the racetracks to be able to bring in competitor series, other racing series to compete with NASCAR. So this is where the monopoly stuff is being talked about, everything with that. And noting that this prevented the SRX series from ever racing at Speedway Motorsports racetracks, which apparently this was part of these were in discussions. These are things that were going to take place. But Prime went on to say hey man, I'm a VP of strategy and innovation. I just gather information and data, present it to the higher ups with everything else. They make the decisions. I don't even understand anything with these NASCAR exclusive clauses with racetracks and everything else. But then it was brought up that in a previous email, he went out there and said that the single-year track agreements left Speedway Motorsports pretty much vulnerable to any outside offers, anything else that could come in. So they did not want nobody competing, offering money to come into these racetracks right here. And following that, NASCAR eventually went to a 2-year agreement with these racetracks that had a 4-year agreement at the end of the life of that contract. And this right here was brought up. This essentially stopped any NASCAR team owners from getting together to start their own series, the SRX series ever coming to these racetracks, or any other series growing enough to be something to compete with NASCAR at this level. So kind of putting a stranglehold on everything else to make sure that NASCAR is the #1 and only top racing series here. But Prime went on to say, hey, these protections, this was for the racetrack's own good. And what he was doing was saying that they gave these racetracks more money as part of these exclusive agreements to pretty much protect them in case somebody like Google or anybody else wanted to come in and buy these properties and build data centers or warehouses or things like that. So he's saying we're giving them more money to protect them. Just going to move on with that. I'm going to tell you, I live right down the road, Charlotte Motor Speedway. That damn place ain't never going nowhere. Will never be no warehouse. Promise you that. And Kessler also brought up NASCAR's contingency plan that was taking place. This was called Project Gold Codes. And this was a mock plan in case multiple teams did not sign the agreement, or if they boycotted everything, that they would have a plan in place before the Daytona 500 to keep the show rolling. This was going to be an interesting situation. Going to be hearing more about this, I'm sure, as well. And Prime had also suggested that NASCAR should reach out to try to make a deal with the Saudi private investment fund to prevent them from ever reaching out during this time or any other time with the Race Team Alliance or the SRX series or any other racing entity to help build one of these series into a competing division. So that's, again, man, this is where the monopoly stuff's coming in, and this goes back to where I say he had that email that said they have all the leverage. They're going to sign anything that's put in front of them, but they didn't. That's why we're here today. But also another cool note at the end of the day yesterday, it was announced Richard Childress is going to take the stand up here. This is going to be a fiery conversation. Look forward to this, of course, with the emails that come out. And I'm sure there's probably going to be more stuff with this as well. And another cool note of yesterday, one of the teams put in a request to Judge Bell, asking that their financials not be made public. They wanted to seal the courtroom during their testimony and everything else, which Judge Bell opposed because he figured this is a grounds for an appeal. And he says he wants to have all this stuff done situated during this trial. We'll see. But the interesting part about this is that this is one of the key teams right here. That's what we got to look at. This is either, this is a Childress, a Hendrick, a Joe Gibbs Racing, a Penske, or somebody who doesn't want their financials out there made to the public. But they also brought up that they believe in the charter system. They just don't want everybody to know how much money they lost. Wild thing to think about right there. But Prime, finishing up today on the stand. We'll be talking about that tomorrow on tomorrow's episode. As I say, I'm going to be keeping up with this every day. Tune in, subscribe, keep up with everything. Below, comment down below. I want to know if anything that's coming out is changing your opinion of either side or anything like that. Your thoughts on each day. And again, who are you siding with right now? Let me know that. I want to see if anything changes from day to day as more stuff comes out. But again, thanks for watching, man. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the subscribers. Thanks for all the prayers. For anybody that doesn't know, going through a tough situation with my mother-in-law right now. But loving doing this. This is my therapy. Y'all have a great day, man. And as always, we'll see you at Checker Flag.